On January 3rd, 2026, the US Special Forces did something that almost never happens. They flew into a country, captured its sitting president, and flew him out to New York in handcuffs. We are not talking about some small time rebel leader here. We are talking about Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela who ran the country for over a decade.
The president has toppled Venezuela's Nicolás Maduro.
The US calls it law enforcement while half of the world calls it invasion. To understand why this happened, we need to go back and understand why the country with more oil than even Saudi Arabia ended up with a currency which is valued less than the paper it's being printed on. I've written down the whole breakdown. Let's read and react to what's happening in geopolitics today. Venezuela was one of Latin America's most wealthiest nation in the mid-20th century. The reason was simple: oil. The country holds world's largest proven oil reserves. This single resource dominated their economy completely. The relationship United States had with Venezuela was also straightforward. Americans bought Venezuelan oil and Venezuela bought American goods. This arrangement worked for decades, but there is a structural problem. The entire economy was dependent on oil prices.
Local fuel retailers will implement a big price hike this week.
When the prices were high, the government had money. When the prices fell, the country struggled. By the end of 1990s, this volatility combined with widespread of corruption caused deep public frustration. Hugo Chavez won the presidency of Venezuela in the year 1999. He won it with a clear message: redistribute oil wealth to poor. He called it the Bolivarian Revolution.
He said he wanted to unite South America and wage a peaceful revolution that would gradually shift the wealth of the country's $50 billion oil economy from the rich and well-to-do to the poor and desperate, who make up 80% of the population and most of Chavez's political support.
His first major action was nationalizing the oil industry. American companies like ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips lost their Venezuelan assets. Chavez redirected the oil revenues into social programs like housing, healthcare, and education. Between the 1999 and 2012, the poverty rates fell, literacy improved. For millions of Venezuelans, life got better. But the government was spending everything. No savings, no economic diversification, no preparation on what will happen if the oil prices go down.
The people that are poor and are ignorant think and feel that Chavez represents them. And the people that have something, that have educated themselves or have achieved something in life, hate him. And that is precisely the drama of Venezuela.
In April 2002, military officers and business officials tried removing Chavez from power. Chavez was gone for 47 hours before coming back to the power.
This had never happened before, for a president to have been taken prisoner by a large group of generals. A dictatorship takes over, and 48 hours later the president returns and not a single shot is fired. I do not believe that there has been anything like this in the world.
From then on, he built relationships with Cuba, Russia, Iran, and China.
Did you ever resign?
No, absolutamente. Jamás. Nunca, never.
You didn't agree to resign?
Never.
Chavez died in March 2013. His vice president then, Nicolás Maduro, took charge. Within months of him taking charge, oil prices started collapsing, and so did the Venezuelan economy. Venezuelan government had no reserves. Instead of cutting off spending, Maduro decided to print more cash, and this resulted in hyperinflation. Hyperinflation usually starts when the government is in deep trouble and does not have any money to run the country. Government needs to pay salaries, pensions, soldiers, and other basic incomes. The government takes a shortcut. They start printing more money. When this loop repeats over time, the trust in the money completely breaks. People prefer foreign currencies or even barter systems instead of local money. You might have already guessed on what happened. Yeah, 7 million Venezuelans left the country in 2014 to 2024, which is roughly 25% of the population. Venezuelan oil production fell from 3 million barrels per day in 2000 to just 500,000 in 2024. And US reacted with economic sanctions over and over again. Also for years, the US Justice Department had indicated Maduro on narco-terrorism charges, accusing him for collaborating with Colombian drug cartels to traffic cocaine into United States. They also accused him of drug trafficking and also corruption. And finally, on this year January, US had enough. They flew in with their special forces, the Delta Force, and they captured Maduro in his bunker and they flew him straight to New York. Now Maduro is in New York cell. Russia, China are losing it and calling it violation of sovereignty. And Venezuela has a new acting president which US does not recognize. The military is still loyal to the old system and it might become a total standoff between US and Venezuela. This is the state of our world right now. A president in jail, a country confused, and everyone waiting to see who fires the next shot. So drop your comments down below. Was it liberation or was it massive kidnapping? And let's talk about it. Peace.